Hey guys, today's video is just going to be about the 30 minutes max. We're going to just play the whole session. A lot of goodies, as always. Huge shout out to Alex for doing this. And FutureScore is coming. If you haven't seen the video, well, here's the goods. I think my computer froze throughout the entire thing, so apologies if it stuttered, but oh, people are excited. There's a lot of new people entering the ecosystem as well that might not be familiar with how it works. It seems that there's a lot of people from the XR community wanting to get in on a token. So also before we start the session, here's a quick thing about the Root token economy straight from the white paper. It's a governance of the Root network protocol, proof of stake for network security. There's Fluff World utility and game economy components, and there's a data marketplace. And I'd encourage you at this moment just to pause the video if you're wanting to read these a little bit more in depth, but I will come out with a video a little bit later if you'd like to subscribe for that information. All right, let's get into 30 minutes max.
Start us off with a big old GM. GM.
Hi, just wondering if gas fees using XRP will reduce from what they are currently, around 0.2 XRP. As we know, XRPL can provide the cheapest fees of around 0.001 XRP for a transaction. Will this be the case for the Root network at some point? It depends on the type of transaction. When you see gas fees of like 0.001 XRP on XRPL, that's generally because it's a simple transfer on XRPL and not like a smart contract function, which is what most of the transaction fees you will have seen for us are. That said, so, even if, say, XRP was to 10x, that wouldn't necessarily mean that our gas fees would 10x as well. It kind of balances out over time as the market for fees develops with the multi-token economy that we have in place there. So even if it did increase substantially as well, that's where our Root network layer 2s can kick in. Well, we'll be doing a more of a technical deep dive on the architecture of the Root network, likely next month sometime, to really delve into the kind of parachain architecture that we've gone with there, and I'll keep you posted on when we expect that to go out. Not so much of a when question, more of a what question regarding burrows. We know the dev has gone from Beyond to Futureverse in the house. My question is, there was some talk earlier that the land component would be dropping separately as its own NFT. Is there a map of the Third Kingdom where all these plots are already located, and is there already a layer revealing to go to the actual land? For example, does each land have its own traits, attributes, resources, rarity, etc.? Burrows and the land component is all falling under Third Kingdom. As we've touched on, there's been a lot of kind of re-strategizing that's gone into place there based on some significant developments, both on strategy and sort of partnership level. I can't guarantee, I can't really provide any specific answer to any of those key questions. Although I can say, I guess, that when you look at the area itself, with burrows being located around, the Great Tree as kind of being the heart of of the region, that will, like, as when it comes to burrows land as well, will also receive that sort of prime placement. LG in Easter egg, Som says there's still quite a few Easter eggs yet to be solved. Can you give us some hints? I can't give you any hints right now, but maybe we'll need to dig back through the archives and see which ones are unsolved, and maybe we need to drip feed some more leaks or teasers out there just to help you guys uncover those. I think there's one of them that's still been unsolved since just after launch. If the NFTs exist on Root and are physically still in a custody account on ETH, is it possible that this ETH wallet could get hacked and these sold on ETH while the NFT still exists on Root as well? Didn't realize there would be multiple copies of the same NFT. Any ideas? Thanks. So yes, when it comes to bridging, this is a common kind of occurrence. I'm yet to see any kind of bridging solution that doesn't follow the same format. and that applies to like ERC20 tokens as well, in the sense that they basically get held in a vault, and a kind of replica or a wrapped version is issued on the other side. That being said, obviously, these vaults are held under very strict security measures, and our general approach for the root network moving forward isn't that everyone has to bridge every single NFT over to the root network to realize the kind of value or utility from them. It's actually just to be a lot more chain agnostic. And obviously, all of our mints of various collectibles will happen on the root network moving forward, and there's a number of kind of reasons for that, not least of all being kind of the fees associated being a lot cheaper. But don't expect that you have to bridge all of your assets to the root network just to be able to utilize them in the various kind of games and experiences that we have moving forward. Can you talk about POTAs for a moment? Obviously not a priority development right now, and I think we all agree that makes sense, but in particular, can we assume they'll factor into FutureScore? Even though the original plan was for 8 characters, 100 outfits, and 10 special, I think a lot has changed since then. No one would blame the team for deviating about that plan, keeping the collection a lot smaller. At the same time, it's a passion project, so probably love designing and making them. So on POTA, I mean, for those of you who aren't aware, POTA was the first project that Jesse and I did together, I think starting in February 2021, when Non-Fungible Labs was just a twinkle in our eye. And yeah, I mean, we have a number more that we want to distribute. We've said that we won't be selling any of them. They'll likely be distributed as rewards for certain people. They will factor into FutureScore, but make sure that you bridge them to the new collection. There's a legacy collection on OpenSea, and a new collection, which is a native contract of ours. I think it's pixeloftheapes.com. You can just go to that to burn your old one and claim the new one. First part, can we assume they'll factor into FutureScore? Yes. Second part, in terms of the overall, I mean, we have, understandably not really put any more energy into developing out that collection right now. There's far greater priorities. And we may actually, consider changing the overall strategy on that and making it a far more limited collection. So yeah, we'll keep you posted on when and if we make any decisions on that front. But at the moment, we're kind of keeping it very, very closed and just focusing on a lot more of the kind of bigger developments that we have in the works. Regarding last week, just firstly, thank you everyone who came last week and asked questions. I still am a bit sick, and have had a bit of a headache over the last week, and there was a couple points that I made in that last 30 minutes max that I just want to clarify. I misspoke in a couple areas. I mentioned when I was talking about the board of directors that we had the former COO of IBM on board. It's actually the former CFO of IBM, and also that we had the former CEO of Christie's Auction House is actually the former CEO of Sotheby's Auction House. So just want to make sure that that's been addressed. Back to question. Where are we? When is the company going public? I found the SEC paperwork outlined for Metaverse Acquisition Corp, so I'm guessing that's not insider information. We literally, legally cannot talk about anything relating to any type of, going public. Like that in of itself is a massive legal no-no. Dan Smith, Dev, said, how can we buy equity in Futureverse? Employees partially vested and able to sell privately. Did the latest raise have a liquidity event for them to sell? If not, is there a secondary marketplace for shares? Once again, we can't really discuss this at present. All I can say is that there is currently no retail investment opportunities in equity for Futureverse. Can you speak about the other root protocol that is unrelated to Futureverse? Their root token will be launched public tradable exchanges this month. Can you please attempt to calm some nerves about them beating Futureverse to the punch? We are obviously well aware of this, and we don't see it as an issue. It's certainly not the first time there's been multiple projects with the same ticker in the market, and we certainly don't intend to change ours. Really, the kind of key decider here is, the exchange listings and the overall kind of volume that's moved, and we think we're in a very strong position there. Can I speak about the partnership with Wimbledon? So the obviously public partnership that we have already in place with Wimbledon as part of the Futureverse ecosystem is through Glorious, which is a more premium kind of art and membership collectibles marketplace that was developed in part by the Silo team. And Glorious is starting to integrate more with the current Futureverse tech stack. There'll be a separate press release on that coming in the near future. Is there any plans to promote AI League game aggressively outside of the ecosystem? What is the long-term goal with this game? Is it being developed into more than just a feeder for AFA? Is it seen as just one tool out of many to come to onboard people into Futureverse and the Root network? The AI League has actually been getting a fair bit of promotion from the likes of FIFA themselves over the last week or so. And we've actually, interestingly, seen a very large uptick in users in Brazil. Brazil is obviously a very football mad country, but they actually have a very strong budding Web3 community there. There's been obviously a lot of really good feedback from the community in terms of the user experience in AI League, and the team are working, actually released an initial patch last Friday, and there'll be another patch coming up soon that will address some of these key pieces of feedback that we've received from the community and really kind of optimize that user experience a lot more. So I guess long term, I mean, I can't really discuss what the long-term plan is with FIFA, with the AI League. It's been a really good kind of launch pad for our relationship with FIFA, and they're really happy with how that's worked out so far. But it's also been a really great kind of test case for us in terms of the AI gaming model that we've developed, and there'll be some key takeaways from that will apply across all of the AI gamification that we're developing moving forward. What does the staff allocation look like across the world? What percentage would be based in Auckland or visit the office regularly? Off the top of my head, I can't give you an exact figure. I would say that approximately after the merge into Futureverse, I'd say approximately 2/3 of the staff are based in New Zealand. We have often kind of big days where we bring a lot of people into the office, and it's bustling. And I think at the moment it's a bit of more of a hybrid. We have busier days in the office and quieter days. There's certainly a period where remote work took center stage, but it's really important, I think, bringing people together in a space like the office as well helps facilitate a lot of great work. Outside of that, when we talk internationally, it's quite a widespread. I forget how many off the top of my head, but from last time I did a large post in Discord, I think it was something like 15 different time zones across the world that we have people in. And obviously the US is a big focus as we start to build up our team there a lot more, especially in senior roles. A lot of those are happening in the US as well, just because of the sheer level of talent that is available there. And obviously it's a big hub for kind of this industry and the world as a whole. Can we please get an ASM like dashboard showing where we're at with different product pipelines? Can we also please have more polls for community Okay, so I'll go back to that first one. We're exploring currently the best ways to provide I guess more frequent updates around product development and the various stages that products and initiatives are in. You will see on the example on the Root network, it has basically a high level overview of what is in production, what's in development, etc., and looking at how we kind of bring a similar approach forward across all of the different product life cycles. But that's still we're still exploring that currently with the relevant kind of product leadership In terms of more polls for community to vote and choose direction on small line items along the way. Yeah, I mean, we certainly, there's a number of areas where we love getting community feedback and helping kind of drive strategy. But I think it's important where we kind of draw the lines on those. I think, as I've said publicly before, that I think the kind of traditional DAO model to me can be quite problematic because it can easily be kind of overrun and steer things in the wrong direction. And especially when you look at a company at the scale that we are now, and the sheer depth of long-term strategy and confidential, you know, partnerships, developments, all of that sort of stuff, which is going on in the background, which if you don't have visibility on that long-term forward focusing approach, then the shorter term strategy can get derailed a bit. But that said, we're always looking at how we can bring people in, and this community in particular, to help kind of shape that journey with us. And I think to engage people. So production later with smaller tweaks that don't require much dev work. These could help improve engagement and give people a better. Yeah, so exactly. So I think when it comes to a lot of the experiential development, there's the sort of first early stage stuff, and we'll start to try and give, like more peeks into alpha stage development of various products and experiences that we're making. And as we've seen, the feedback from the community in those areas has been really helpful, even just with like AI League launch, in terms of refining the experience. And we expect to see something similar with a lot of the other products and like AI tools and kind of metaverse creation tools broadly, as we bring them to market. Can you please explain what the situation is with TJ the best you can? I get not being able to talk about some things, but he was a co-founder of Party Bear, so any insight would be helpful to the community. If not fact he were to try and build out an alternative storyline experience with his Party Bear, how would the team feel about it? Look, like, I can't really say much there except to say that he, after being made redundant, decided to go and breach his NDA quite publicly. But if he wants to go and build out an alternative storyline or experience with his Party Bear, he is entirely entitled to, just as anyone who owns any Party Bear or Fluff assets is allowed to build their own experience or narrative or kind of co-create along that line. This whole journey is about co-creation, and it's about us empowering people to build alongside with us, build their own experiences, write their own stories on top of what we're creating. So, if that's something that he seriously wants to pursue, then by all means, he can go for it. Last question there. I think most would agree marketplace is one of the first things we need, but we have not seen any sneak peeks yet. Can we? Yes, marketplace, key thing for the marketplace is ensuring that we actually have proper token liquidity on the root network. So if we look at the timeline of events, the marketplace will likely be dropping directly after the exchange listings, both centralized and decentralized, so that we have proper have price discovery, and B, have proper liquidity on the network for tokens, because having a marketplace right now when there's limited token availability for people and no real price discovery wouldn't really make any sense. In terms of a sneak peek, I'll follow up with that team and see, but we obviously want to time that in terms of the actual release of the marketplace itself. Is there an Easter egg in the FutureScore video? Not that I'm aware of, but you can't expect me to give you all the answers. Can you give some details regarding asset registry? So the asset registry is a core component of all of the interoperability framework that we're building as part of Futureverse, and it essentially acts as a kind of like ontology standard in terms of how assets are able to be utilized in an interoperable fashion across various different experiences. I think one of the biggest issues that you have currently with the metaverse as a whole is that people are all still building pretty much walled garden game experiences, but claiming them as being the metaverse, where for the most part they're not really that different to any existing game. So having a core interoperability standard across all of these is very important, and that's what we're working on with the asset registry. Is the 54 million funding from 1010 Ripple investment part of the 100 mil funding that was mentioned last year? What is the total funding now? I can't explicitly give you figures, but I can say that the 54 million was on top of some additional funding that had taken place for the various entities over the last couple of years. Will thingies gather mycelium or will they gather root? Is it inaccurate to describe thingies as an asset that will gather the token like it was previously said? I can't confirm that at this stage, but they are still gatherers. Can you share what FIFA has shared about AI League? Yes, I will track those articles down. I think there's been a couple posts from them, so I'll check in with marketing and see if I can share those with you. I think we have them on hand somewhere. Just confirming, POTAs need to be merged to the new contract to be included in FutureScore, or can they remain on the old contract? Yes, best to move your POTAs across, burn them to the new contract, and the website for that is just pixeloftheapes.com. Can you share what role backgrounds would play within the Third Kingdom? No, not at this stage. Is there a timeline on Atom car files? I can't give an explicit timeline, but from what I've heard last, it will be happening this year. Broadly speaking, on Altered State Machine, I know there's been a few people from the ASM community that have felt the absence of David since he's moved into his new role leading the innovation department. I caught up with him the other day. There's some key developments going on there, and once again, as I said, with the launch of some of these more kind of technical deep dive comms that we'll be putting out, we'll be looking to bring David back to chat about a lot of the AI development stuff, both in terms of what's happening within the Sector 369 Innovation Department, and then I guess more broadly on the Futureverse side in terms of the long-term strategy for brains, etc., moving forward. Will thingies continue to mint on ETH network or be migrated to Root network? I imagine, I don't have confirmation on this, but I believe it will at least, we are looking to roll out all of that kind of existing functionality on the Root network, which will allow for, much cheaper actual generation of assets. But I'm not sure whether that would include us actually shutting down that functionality on Ethereum or not. My belief is that it would be a personal choice to anyone, whether you wish to still do that on Ethereum and pay the higher fees or just transfer it over. Questions around POTA, just bridge them, guys. Just bridge your POTA. Just burn and get the new one. We are still actively collaborating with Weta in a few different areas. You'll see some of that come to light shortly, Mr. Metablocks. Both you and Aaron have mentioned not having shallow celebrity partnerships. Snoop and Keanu had brief moments in the spotlight, but no presence in over a year. Might we be hearing more from them and others? Yes, I think the key thing there was it's all about timing as well, and making sure that when we are utilizing, these key public figures, that we're doing so in a way that actually converts and onboards people. So, we still have very deep relationships with these key people, and we'll be readdressing and reutilizing them at the appropriate times. Any plans for Fluff birthday? It's a very good question. To be confirmed. Can you talk about why now is the time Futureverse is ramping up marketing efforts? What are some of the factors that made now the right time? Honestly, I wouldn't say that now is the time that we're ramping up marketing efforts. We are now, I guess, getting into a better flow as Futureverse with our marketing department, but the timing, around funding and that is, something that we've been looking to release I think one of the key components is obviously with the public launch of Root Token, there's certain level of engagement that we want to ensure we have when it comes to bringing that to market. But if you think, that we're firing all our bazookas now, you'll be surprised in the future. Every trait matters question. The original way that we were doing every trait matters with various airdrops is not a sustainable approach, and it actually led to devaluation of various other assets across the ecosystem. But every trait still does matter when it comes to how your assets are utilized, or your avatars and fluffs, etc., are utilized within the various upcoming experiences that we have. What else can community expect in terms of engaging with their asset as production ramps up? You'll start to see a lot of different experiences, some that are properly polished game experiences, and some that are actually just letting you play with some of our tools in kind of broader more like sandbox environments. I think as I said, a key thing for us is to empower you to create whatever you imagine as well. So alongside us developing, highly curated experiences, we'll be releasing tools and experiences for you guys to kind of play with and build your own stuff with. Newcomers ask the best and cheapest way to enter into the project. You can say buying sends if you want. We can't give any financial advice around that. I think best and cheapest, that you just look at the different assets that are available on the market. How close are we to announcing the next partner? There will be at least one more partnership announcement this year. There is still one Atom card to reveal. What's the hold up with this? You'll see that in relation to the car claim.
What are you most excited for right now, Alex?
Work-wise, I think on the Futureverse side of things, I'm just really excited to see a lot of the hard work that's been going on in the background start to actually, come to light. And I think, especially on the Root network and the kind of powered by Futureverse, like technical infrastructure and platform layer, starting to bring that further to market, having the Root token fully up and running, having all of the various tools live on the Root network, really starting to roll out more of that sort of stuff to empower and engage, not just kind of developer communities to start building on Root network, but also more everyday people to start building or playing with experiences as well. In terms of my personal life, what am I most excited about? Burning Man. FutureScore is only calculated on the new collection. Bridge your pose.
All right. I'm a bridge today then. I'll do all of them today then, for sure. Appreciate it.
Yo, Alex, what about the new POTAs that y'all made recently? Those are already on the new contract, or those need to be bridged?
The ones that we issued, any ones that we issued this year are on the new contract. Basically, what happened is we launched POTA as part of the OpenSea storefront, so like the massive kind of lazy mint contract that they have, because this is when Jesse and I were first getting into the space, and we didn't know how to write a smart contract or anything. Not that I do now, we pay very smart people for that. And then OpenSea actually did a major update to their storefront contract, I think in September or something last year. And that meant that you couldn't actually mint any more assets to existing collections. So, it was something that we needed to do at some point anyway, is bring it all over to our own kind of in-house contract. So that was just, I guess, a catalyst for us to take that action.
One of the criteria for getting a higher future score is time of the asset held.
Mm-hmm.
And when I burn the POTA to the new contract, theoretically, I would only be, if we should have held it for a very short time, I wouldn't consider the old contract, which has been a couple of years. So is that a concern, really?
No, that won't impact on specifically for POTAs.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.